Thank you so much for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the Nigerian newspapers this morning. I have joining me here to review these big stories. Here with me in the studio is public affairs analyst Otun Ojon and political technocrat Dr. Tayo Kayode. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the program. I trust you're doing well. Fine. So let's get right into it. The first paper we will be looking at is This Nigeria. It's one of the several papers we shall be looking at this morning. So This Nigeria is saying 2023 PDP APC presidential primaries clash of titans. It calls it. Daily Trust is leading still with politics, calling its big story APC PDP presidential primaries. Aspirants, regional leaders in final push with another rider. Southwest moves to produce consensus candidates. So that's for Daily Trust. We move on now to Blueprint. 6 days to presidential primaries, it says APC postpones screening. Southeast aspirants Bankole echo consensus. Interesting there. Tribune is next, leading with APC again aborts screening of presidential aspirants. It's still politics all the way, and so far anyway. Nigerian News Direct is leading still with a twist of politics, consensus arrangement tussle. APC postpones presidential screening exercise indefinitely. And that's also what we see on the Leadership newspaper. 2023 postponement of APC presidential screening unsettles aspirants. Let's check out The Nation next. Drama clashes, it says, as well as upsets at PDP reps assembly primaries. Opposition party to pick senatorial candidates today. Daily Times is next. APC stoking political crisis to stall 2023 poll, says PDP. Asks ruling party to perish 10-year elongation plots. Accusation fake news, says APC. Postpones presidential screening exercise. That's for Daily Times. We go to Punch now. It's leading with governorship primaries. Crisis rocks rivers. Oyo, Benue, APC factions reject delegates lists. Let's check out First News. They are leading with the revelation and they're calling it how Ogunwoshu River Basin Development Authority sold off FG's 2 billion assets for paltry 13 million. Disposes vehicles, generators, payloaders, as well as bulldozers, graders, escalators, others at ridiculous amounts. First News adds that Reps Committee grills agencies MD, summons ministers. PEMSEC demands valuation report on disposed assets. That's for First News. Let's go to Abuja Inquirer, which says Abuja week of chaos, confusion, tension heightens over day-day conflict, protests over chairman tenure elongation, and minister under fire. Finally, on the papers this morning, not quite though. Business AM says inflation serves CBN a la carte as MPC meets. A tweak of the rates by marginal 25 BPS. And still on business, which is our final paper to look at. Business Day leads with a report on hunger crisis inside Nigeria's malnutrition plague. Gentlemen, that is it. But let's also look at national economy, which says steel raw materials import costs Nigeria 1.4 trillion naira annually. All right, Dr. Kayode, so that's is how the papers are leaning on this morning. They're still leading with politics, and a lot of interesting developments, occurred over the weekend. Yeah. Deeper intrigues. Absolutely. Yeah. The PDP saga. They also had their own record of controversies. But how do you view all this, even as we inch closer and closer to the fourth coming polls?
You see, one thing I want Nigerians to know is from my own telescope, just like the president also used his telescope to say that he can see the end of insecurity in Nigeria. So I'm also borrowing that same telescope to say that yes, there will be election in 2023. But it's going to be fully loaded with intrigues, maneuvering, and politicking. How do I mean? You can see even the National Assembly coming up with different amendments to our electoral system. Okay? Look at what that just happened now. How many weeks? How many days to primaries? You're now coming up with, okay, these are going to be the delegates, this should be, it should be ad hoc, it should be this, it should be that. And exactly that has caused a lot of problems in Lagos State. It should follow what happened in Lagos State, PDP primaries to the House of Reps and not Senate, House of Reps and House of Assembly.
No.
You're going to see some intrigues there. A particular list came as the 3 ad hoc delegates, while there was also another list that some people are holding on to. And fortunately and unfortunately, the chairman, I saw your news this morning, whereby the chairman was saying, look, this particular list you have used for the primaries is not the authentic list. It's not the authentic list. And who is to tell you the authentic list other than the state's chairman?
Absolutely.
So are we now saying, no, two things now. Are we now saying the NWC, the National Working Committee, has taken over the roles of the state executive, which was even inaugurated by the NWC? Or are we saying the Lagos State executive were sleeping, and then there couldn't be a vacuum?
Absolutely.
And then the NWC is now taking over? Let's put that aside. We also look at APC. Between you and me, APC government should let us tread it gently, because the king that rules, while there is no crisis in the society, it will be written down. While the one that rules and then come up with a series of crises, it will also be written down. Why are they now changing goalposts every now and then? Okay?
Right.
But then when we're now talking about the gladiators again, that another newspaper I talked about.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm also looking forward to a particular person that has said, yes, God had told him that he'll be the next president after Buhari. But because if he's not the next president, what will he now say God had said?
All right, Dr. Kayode, let's leave it at this point now. Let me check your views now with that of Dr. Jones. So looking at the PDP controversy here in Lagos, we'll start with that, as Dr. Kayode did. How do you see it? Just like his, or for you now, who is really in charge in the PDP Lagos State?
Okay, I think the maneuvering in our community is a product of the fact that we've not had good governance over the time. That's why everyone wants to just force his way into power, no matter the cost. Because sometimes I just sit down and I look at the cost of governance or the cost of getting to power. And the question I keep asking myself is, at the end of the day, is it really worth it? It's not just about Lagos. Nationally, yesterday, we saw first-class maneuvering within a political party. If you can maneuver the people, it's like a father maneuvering the family members. How would you now do to the people outside if you can be maneuvering people under your own umbrella? And it's not limited to PDP. APC is doing the same thing. So I think it's about time that we lay emphasis, rather than talking about what politicians has not done right. I think it's about time for us to actually lay emphasis on the kind of government or the governance process that we actually want as a people, and continue to tell the people also, either you are in this or that you have a place a part to play in the entire process. When INEC started its registration exercise, the voter registration that they started some months back, they said they were going to, the target is to register 20 million people at the end of June 2022. As we speak now, they are hovering around somewhere around 29% of their target. Our people have simply refused to go out, and it's not a process of what they have done. It's also a product of bad leadership over the time, because the essence of democracy is actually to develop the people. But when democracy continues to demoralize them, then they want to distance themselves from the process of democracy, which is what we've had over the time. So we must continue to talk about the major power players within the political parties, that if you cannot play internal democracy so well and produce normal set of people, and you're manipulating yourself within your family, then how are the community people going to trust you with power? Or what is the evidence at the end of the day that you will get to power and you are not going to maneuver the people? See, the major question that I keep asking myself is that what has democracy brought to us more than division? Before 1999, the dollar, for example, was somewhere around 80 naira to the dollar.
Yeah.
And gradually we kept moving. By the time Baba Obasanjo will live there, it has climbed to 120 naira. And gradually, you know what the dollar is saying today. And how did we get to this point? It's because we have failed to develop our internal economy.
Absolutely.
If we develop our internal economy, then we will not be comparing the dollar. Somebody was to make his hair in the UK, and he said, oh, I made my hair so amount, and he was trying to compare it to naira, that's about 30,000 naira. And I said, no, we do not have any reason to compare our currency if our internal economy is actually working. As we speak now, everything around our life, including houses, in some places in Lagos, I don't know whether you are aware, if you get there to take accommodation now, they get their money in green bag. If you give them a naira, they will not accept. Sure. There are hotels you want to check in Lagos today that they will be pointing you towards the direction of the dollar.
So it's about value. It's about value and devaluation.
Democracy is not just about the power play within political party. We must know that the purpose of democracy is to develop the Nigerian people and give them a sense of belonging in their own community.
Which even brings us to the point of, now that, look at how all the papers, are describing the currents of the times that we live in now. Someone noted a while ago that, in fact, governance has been pushed, further down. Good governance has been pushed further down. It's more like in abeyance now. It's all about politic and politicking and intrigues and even more intrigues. But is this how things are to be? While, of course, everyone is planning for the crucial, election or the electoral season, is this how, can there be another way to do this? Dotun was talking about interest in the parties and all that.
Yeah, it will always be the same thing the moment we are not ready to change the narratives. I was listening to Dotun just now. And I was talking about increasing the number of people to be registered. But are we people also looking beyond registration with INEC? Because all these things starts from the word. There was a time I was always engaging myself in political agitation. But somehow on a particular program, the thing just struck me that look, political agitation without political participation is zero. To what extent are we participating? We need, because all these intrigues starts from the word. How will somebody get a list different from the list that is supposed to be presented? The whole thing will start from the word. So to what extent are people engaging themselves? The intellectuals, the know-hows, the exposed people, the highly socialized people, to what extent are they going to the word to ensure that they change things? They will tell you politics is dirty. Where is dirty is at that word, whereby you will see somebody who is not even worth to clean your shoes, will be talking to you anyhow. But then that is politics. So the moment we don't go there, there is no way we'll be able to change things. So what I'm saying is this: for us to have a better system, we have to contribute to the process, because you cannot expect somebody who has never contributed to another candidate get into a position and now come here and say, yes, you must do this. No, he won't do that. But it should have been part of the process that allowed that particular leader to evolve. Then you will have a say. Without you being part of it, there's no way you can come at the middle of the way and say, include this. No.
Okay, but Doctor, I also want you to talk about, the happenings in the ruling party. For example, Dr. Kayode had a thing or two to say in that regard, but with this postponement of this crucial primaries that will open up the process so we know who is who, basically, and the suggestions for a consensus. Where do you see this all going?
It's actually a strategic move to keep people that will be denied ticket in the party. They will just want to, they don't want, because if you look at it now, if they quickly do the primary now, if they deny some set of people, some big names, the opportunity to flag the party flag, they can actually decamp or deflect to other parties. But once they push it to the end of the space, even when they decide to use consensus at that point in time, even if you leave the party, you will not get ticket elsewhere.
Gentlemen, Dr. John and Dr. Kayode, thank you so much for your contributions on TVC Breakfast. Right.